You want to intro it today?
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Wholehearted. Got a special episode where we're freezing our butts off outside. We really believe in nature.
Yeah, we do.
And the importance of it. Ty is actually wearing shorts. I don't know if you can see in the shot, but he's wearing shorts. And do you know how cold it is right now?
I think when I checked my truck, it was like 12 degrees or something.
Yeah, idiot.
But I just got up and we were meeting at 6 a.m. and I knew we were going to do this and I wasn't going to be able to get home, so I just dressed like I go to work every day. So we're all good. But despite the fact that it is freezing outside, it is beautiful today. And this is actually probably exactly what I needed for my own mental health, because I've been struggling a little bit with my own depression for the last couple of weeks, but it's beautiful. So, and it's nice, Chase, to have you back, man.
It's good to be back.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. Well, we've had a few things here and there happen in between, and the holidays, holy cannoli, holidays happen, they hit, and it's like whirlwinds. You don't really think about it until it's all said and done, and then you look back and kind of are shaking.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And everything's thrown out of whack. Patterns in life are off. And
yeah, I think that's the main thing for me with the holidays. It kills my routine, but or I allow it to kill my routine, I should say.
Yeah,
but it's good to be back and getting some things going again.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to have you back. I really missed having you around, and definitely there was a void in my life not having you around for a month. So,
yeah,
and flying solo on the podcast a few times as well.
Yeah, but I like what you've been doing. I think other people are receiving it well, and I think that's a good direction that we're heading in, with some of the episodes being focused on more of the principles that you're sharing, and how people can really change because of those things if they apply them.
Right. Yeah, I feel good about that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so today I had a couple thoughts on my mind, and we talked a little bit about it, and I just kind of wanted to start by asking you a question and say, have you ever been in a situation when you know you should be maybe doing more, or you want to be more productive, but it doesn't seem like you're able to go anywhere?
No. I've always been as productive as I've always wanted to be.
And maybe the follow-up question is that knowing that everybody is in that spot sometimes, what are your thoughts on why we go through those spells in our lives, and what are the benefits of going through those things, and then really how do you get through those things? And I'll give you kind of an example, and I told you this earlier today, but since Christmas, kind of started, I had my hip surgery on December 4th, which went really well. Then after my hip surgery, just the recovery part of it sort of knocks you out of the ability to stay healthy, and like in terms of my exercise, and my exercise does a lot for my mental health. And so I started to kind of feel my winter depression setting in, and then we lost our dog over the holidays, and you guys all have seen the episode on that. But between those two things, the lack of exercise and the surgery and losing Rooster and the season that it is right now, I feel like I'm standing like knee deep in a quagmire of mud emotionally. And
it's slowly freezing.
Yeah, and it's like, and I know all the right things to say to myself. I know all the right things to do for myself, and yet it's like every day sometimes just feels like drudgery. It's like I'm trudging just to get through to go to bed again tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying to keep a good attitude, and this sunrise today actually did a lot of good for me. But just wondering, what do you do? And how do you help yourself, and why is it okay? Why do we have to push on today when it's so hard to get anything done?
Man, You're asking the wrong guy. I was gonna ask you that question actually.
I can tell you all the right answers. I'm just struggling to do it.
Yeah.
You know.
No, something you mentioned a long time ago, just in one of our conversations, is that motivation is a finite resource.
Yeah.
And I've recognized that as being true. Yesterday, I got up. I had this awesome list of things that I was gonna do. One of them was watch the sunrise with a friend of ours. Got out there, watched the sunrise. It was great. Had a great experience. I'm feeling charged. I'm ready to take on the next thing. I go and take some pictures take some photos of horses for Rhiannon, your wife, and I get some good photos. I'm out there. I'm in the snow. I'm chasing horses around like an idiot, just walking around like, no, don't move, stay there, and freezing my butt off simultaneously. Next thing down. Then I got to head up to work. I go up to Idaho Falls. I've got this list of things, and it continues on. By the end of the day, when I get home, and this is the first time I've seen my wife for the day, it's like 7:30. I roll up, I'm like, hey, how's it going? Make some chit chat and catch up on the happenings, how things went at school for her. She's been doing talent shows with all the kids. Paisley, your daughter, actually did some drawings of Rooster and of your new dog that you're going to be getting. Little things, catching up with her. And by the time we were done talking, we just kind of sat and looked at each other. It was 8 o'clock, and normally we stay up till about 11 to midnight trying to get some things knocked out. And we've got a list.
Yeah.
We're trying to get a web course finished. I've got some video editing to do. And we look at each other and we're like, I just want to go to bed. And it's not because I'm lazy. We've had a full day.
Yeah.
We've been going hard in the paint, but I'm ready to be done.
Mm-hmm.
It took a second for us to build up some commitment to, we've got a couple of more things that would feel good if we got them done, and trying to think about the satisfaction of completing them, and not because of a checklist mentality. Sometimes that's what we're too focused on, but because it would be nice if we used the time that we had available and what limited resources with the energy and the motivation, and just tried to cram that in if possible. I worked on very small things, got it done. Chelsea and I mostly just held each other and had a nice night talking to each other the rest of the night. And then we went to bed. But around midnight, and starting up the next day, here we are. But I've recognized that it's better get the good stuff done in the morning, the highest priority, the most important, the most valuable. Get that stuff done in the morning, and because the day's gonna wane on, and eventually, you're talking probably more about like overall, how do you get through something like that, perseverance. I'm talking about a single day, and it's
sure,
like,
but I think the principles are the same, and that idea, there's a couple principles that you pulled out there that I think are important to just maybe reiterate is, I agree with you, and I'm gonna have people have people mad at me, especially maybe even my wife, because she's not much of a morning person compared to me, but motivation is way less at night than it is in the morning. I believe that something about sleeping sort of replenishes our motivation. It's just a matter of getting ourselves out of bed in the first place that matters, especially if you're struggling with depression or something. But the other thing that I think you said is actually a really valuable tool to be able to put into play that I haven't been using myself much is to think forward to the reasons why you're doing what you do, or think forward to the fact that maybe there's going to be something brighter in the future than what I'm going through right now. I was just thinking about that a couple of years ago with Rooster, when we found that guy up the canyon, the body. And it sat with me for a really long time that he went missing in November. And in November, where he went and where I found his body at, it would have been drab and dark and depressing, and no just basically brown. And I think it was kind of metaphorical for where he was at in his life. You know, he was depressed, and when I found him, it was springtime, and there were sunflowers growing all around, and it was beautiful. And if I wonder if he would have just been able to think about 3 months from now,
Right.
being in the exact same spot, metaphorically, he'd be walking through a hill full of wildflowers and greenery, and this beautiful budding nature, instead of just the deadness of what it must have looked like when he went missing. And I think that's something I could probably do in my own life a little more, is to say, you know, this is wintertime, and I just lost my dog, and I haven't been doing my dailies the way that I need to because I'm not exercising, and because I'm not exercising, I have less motivation to do everything else, and it just kind of like builds on itself. But there is some power to just doing what you and Chelsea did last night, but being able to do that on a broader scale, especially when we're in really dark times in our lives, by saying, what are a couple things?
Yeah.
What are 1 or 2 things that I'm going to be able to commit to today that will maybe not yield me a massive result, but that will keep me moving? And I think that's the key, is we don't sometimes have to get everything done. You know, I want to be more productive.
Right.
Some days right now, if I get out of bed and I get to work and I'm actually like 75% of the therapist I need to be, that might be a victory today.
Yeah.
And that'll change, you know, in a few weeks, or, you know, as soon as I flush through some of the other feelings I've been going through, I'll be back on my A game again.
Yeah.
And then there'll be periods of time with great productivity. And sometimes I forget and I lose sight of the fact that this isn't a linear thing. It's a process thing, you know. So
Yeah, painful. A few years ago, you mentioned a story about coming home to Rhiannon, and the house was in shambles, but she had been taking care of the girls all day, and she was upset that she didn't have, I don't know if it was like a meal on the table or laundry folded or
all of
toys
the
put
above,
away or
like,
whatever.
everything was a disaster, and she was like basically in tears, you know, and just like, I'm such a failure today, you know. Exactly.
And what did you say to her though?
Well, luckily I got it right this time. I think I don't always get it right, but I just said, hey, did you spend time with the kids today? And she said, yeah, I played with the kids today, you know. And I'm like, as long as my kids got taken care of and you did something that you can feel good about for yourself, like, the rest of this stuff really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just glad that my kids have a mom who's invested in wanting to spend time with them.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's really was a success for her day.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
So the same kind of thing happened last night when I saw Chelsea. I mean, she had gone to work. She had done a few other things that were like, okay, for me, that I would have been like, I did good today. But the main thing she was happy about was I took care of our son. And I walk upstairs and we got laundry everywhere, and we got toys that had been hand-me-downs from other family, and clothes that are hand-me-downs from other family to give to our son. And I'm looking at the place, I'm like, whoa, can't wait to get rid of some stuff and clear the space so I can clear my head. And she was kicking herself over that. I didn't vocalize any of this, but she was kicking herself over the things she didn't get done. And that's what I brought up. I was like, wait, how did you do as a mom today? She's like, I did good. I'm like, well,
okay,
you did it, you know?
Take it. You win.
The most important thing, you did, all right?
Right.
So I think sometimes the criticism, the level of criticism that we have for ourselves is what does us in, when in reality, maybe we're living life pretty good. And it's the bar is too high and unreasonable given the amount of stuff that's going on in our lives. And sometimes
I definitely agree that that's the case, you know. And we probably we probably are the worst ones at burying ourselves when things are already hard.
Right.
You know, and I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, I know that's the case with you. Every time you share stuff like that, I'm like, Ty, you gotta take it easier on yourself, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I do, and I sit here and I preach it all day.
Yeah.
And then I beat myself up because I should know better, and I still don't
where's
do
your
it,
self-compassion?
Right? Exactly, and I just ram self-compassion down the throats of all of my clients. In fact, all last week, probably because I needed it, I made all my clients write a letter of self-compassion every day to themselves, and I'm like, I probably had to go follow my own advice.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Oh man, I can't tell you how many times I've been working on content that we're creating, so assignments for the web courses, for example, that as I'm going through it and putting it together or modifying or designing it, whatever it is, I start to have these questions of when's the last time I did that? Like, when's the last time I took an assessment of qualities that I possess that are good ones? It's been a while.
Yeah.
And I've been struggling with this same thing, that we're like, hey, you guys, this is how you fix it.
This is how you're supposed to live, guys.
So I don't know, maybe that's something for both of us to take away. Is I think we do pretty good with practicing what we preach, but sometimes we kind of have this
we need to tune up.
Yeah.
We need to tune up all the time.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's about all I had today, and I'm getting pretty cold. I can barely move my mouth. And if you guys, I don't know if you can get closer to the camera with
There it
look
is.
at your mustache.
It's a little bit frozen. I can feel it stiffening
Got a
up.
frozen mustache, so I think we ought to call it a wrap.
Yeah, for your sake. I'm fine. What do you say we stay out here a little bit longer?
I'm doing all right,
I
man.
got like hot hands in my pockets. And
It's all good, man.
all right.
Okay.
Yeah, until next week.
All right, guys. We'll see ya.